Have you ever stood in a crowded room surrounded by laughter and conversation, yet felt utterly disconnected, as though separated from others by an invisible wall? You're certainly not alone in feeling this way. Recent studies reveal a startling truth. More than 60% of adults today admit feeling regularly misunderstood or isolated, even among their closest friends and family. Carl Jung, one of history's most profound psychological minds, understood this sensation intimately. Throughout his life, Jung grappled deeply with loneliness, but remarkably he discovered it was far more powerful and transformative than most of us realize. He famously declared, "Solitude for me is a fount of healing which makes my life worth living." But how could this possibly be true? How can loneliness, something we instinctively dread and actively avoid, become our greatest healer? But here's the surprising twist. What if the loneliness you've been avoiding is actually guiding you toward your most profound self-discovery? Jung believed precisely that. Could the quiet moments we fear actually hold the profound answers we've always sought? Later, I'll reveal exactly how Jung turned loneliness into strength and how you can practically apply his wisdom to transform your life. But first, let's journey into Jung's personal story, because within it lies the secret of why solitude might be your greatest gift. Carl Jung understood loneliness from a very early age. Growing up, he felt fundamentally different, not simply isolated physically, but deeply misunderstood at his core. He often described himself as feeling utterly alienated, as though he were trying to speak a language that no one around him could comprehend. Jung once poignantly expressed this pain. Loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself. This painful isolation reached a dramatic climax in Jung's life when he broke away from his mentor and close friend Sigmund Freud. Their relationship, once warm and deeply collaborative, fractured irrevocably over philosophical differences. Suddenly, Jung found himself ostracized and profoundly alone, isolated from the psychoanalytic community he'd previously considered his intellectual home. Yet astonishingly, this intense solitude, this dark and painful period, proved to be one of the most transformative chapters of Jung's life. Instead of succumbing to despair, Jung retreated into deep, disciplined solitude. He withdrew to his private study, intentionally cutting himself off from the external noise and distraction of the outside world. It was during these solitary years that Jung embarked upon a groundbreaking exploration of his own unconscious, courageously confronting the inner fears, visions, and dreams that would shape his revolutionary theories. These years alone culminated in his creation of the famous Red Book, a profound masterpiece forged entirely through solitude and introspection. But why does Jung's story matter to you? Consider this carefully. If Jung had fled from loneliness, if he had numbed himself with distractions or returned desperately to Freud's acceptance, the world might never have known his groundbreaking insights. His solitude wasn't passive isolation, it was an active, courageous journey inward that established what he later described as an indestructible foundation within himself, resilient, powerful, and profoundly authentic. Perhaps your own moments of loneliness, then, aren't simply misfortune or suffering. Perhaps they are your invitation, your call, to build a similar foundation strong enough to withstand life's greatest challenges. Could your own solitude be quietly offering you a similar path towards strength, authenticity, and profound self-discovery? Stay with me, because soon we'll discover exactly how you can harness solitude practically to uncover your hidden strengths. But before we get there, let's first explore Jung's surprising insight into why being an introvert isn't a weakness, but one of your most powerful and underestimated gifts. Society subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, suggests there's something wrong if you prefer quiet contemplation to endless chatter. If you recharge in silence rather than through constant socializing. But Carl Jung passionately disagreed with this misconception. Far from viewing introversion as a flaw or a personality defect, Jung saw it as a profound strength, an inward orientation that allows extraordinary depths of reflection, creativity, and insight. Jung was the first psychologist to define introversion clearly, but unlike modern culture, he never treated it as something to overcome or fix. Rather, he celebrated it as the fertile ground upon which authentic self-awareness and genuine creativity grow. Jung himself candidly admitted, "Talking is often a torment for me, and I need many days of silence to recover from the futility of words." Notice he didn't frame silence as emptiness or a failure to engage. Instead, he recognized silence as a sacred sanctuary, a necessary refuge where true wisdom emerges. Yet, modern society often pushes us relentlessly outward, treating solitude as though it's a symptom of being antisocial or disconnected. But consider this bold possibility. What if this so-called weakness, this trait society often misunderstands, is actually your greatest strength, quietly waiting to be recognized and harnessed? History provides abundant evidence to support Jung's radical perspective. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most influential philosophers of all time, openly celebrated solitude, claiming boldly that no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. Nietzsche's greatest philosophical insights, ideas that continue to influence us profoundly today, emerge not from crowded rooms filled with debate, but from disciplined, intentional solitude. Similarly, Rainer Maria Rilke, the acclaimed poet whose words have inspired generations, thrived specifically because he regularly embraced deep, contemplative silence. Rilke's famous advice, "The only journey is the one within," resonates profoundly with Jung's insights, affirming the idea that true understanding, wisdom, and creativity flourish most vividly within the quiet introspection solitude offers. But what does this mean practically for you? Later in our journey, I'll share precisely how Jung's insights can be practically applied in your daily life to maximize your introverted strengths, enriching both your personal authenticity and your relationships. But first, let's delve deeper into the astonishing ways solitude can help you uncover hidden truths about yourself. Truths that could transform not only your understanding of loneliness, but your entire approach to life. So, you've found yourself alone, perhaps more often than you'd like. At first glance, this solitude might seem to be merely empty space, a lack, an absence. But Carl Jung saw something extraordinary hidden beneath this emptiness. For Jung, solitude was never just the absence of others, it was the essential presence of your authentic self, quietly waiting to be discovered. Jung famously said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." In this simple yet powerful statement lies an essential truth. Solitude grants you a unique and profound opportunity to uncover who you genuinely are, what you truly desire, and what purpose lies hidden beneath the constant noise of daily life. Consider Jung's own experience. At the peak of his career, having lost friendships and reputation after his painful split from Freud, Jung retreated into profound isolation. Yet this solitude became his most creative and transformative period. It was in this silence that he wrote his most personal and revolutionary work, The Red Book. This extraordinary manuscript wasn't merely scholarly, it represented Jung's courageous dialogue with the deepest recesses of his own unconscious mind. In Solitude, Jung encountered visions, fears, and insights that shaped not only his personal life but the entire field of psychology. But Jung wasn't alone in harnessing solitude's creative power. History repeatedly proves solitude's astonishing ability to awaken creativity and self-awareness. The legendary physicist Sir Isaac Newton developed his groundbreaking theories of gravity and optics while isolated during the Great Plague. In complete silence, cut off from the academic community, Newton found clarity and inspiration that changed our understanding of the universe. Similarly, Ludwig van Beethoven, despite becoming profoundly isolated due to deafness, composed some of his most celebrated and emotionally profound works during periods of intense solitude. For both Newton and Beethoven, solitude wasn't accidental, it was essential. These famous historical examples reinforce Jung's insight that solitude isn't merely emptiness or loneliness, but a powerful catalyst for creativity and authentic self-discovery. What could you uncover in your own solitude if you embraced it intentionally? What hidden clarity or untapped creativity might be waiting beneath the surface of silence, obscured by the relentless demands of modern life? Later, we'll explore exactly how you can practically harness solitude in your daily routine. But first, we must confront a crucial question. If solitude has such extraordinary potential, why does loneliness often feel so unbearably painful? Despite its immense potential, solitude isn't always a comforting sanctuary. Often it feels more like an endless night, a darkness without dawn. Jung himself understood loneliness at its darkest. He never denied or minimized the deep pain loneliness can cause. Instead, Jung described loneliness as something profoundly distressing, not just physical isolation, but the deeper emotional agony of feeling unseen, unheard, misunderstood by the world around you. It's likely you've experienced this yourself. Those nights when solitude doesn't comfort, it torments, leaving you feeling isolated and disconnected, even from yourself. Yet, what if loneliness, this experience we instinctively dread and desperately try to escape, actually serves a deeper purpose? Here's where Jung's insight becomes astonishingly transformative. Jungian analyst James Hollis once vividly captured Jung's perspective, stating, "Only by embracing loneliness may its tyranny be broken." Consider this radical idea carefully. Loneliness isn't meaningless suffering, it's a messenger, a powerful call to explore your innermost truths more courageously. Jung firmly believed our darkest moments, those nights of profound isolation and despair, often precede the most significant awakenings of our lives. Think of the caterpillar, isolated, alone, and trapped within its cocoon. On the surface, its solitude appears oppressive, even hopeless. Yet within this confinement, something extraordinary unfolds. It undergoes a transformation impossible without that solitary darkness. Similarly, Friedrich Nietzsche, who deeply influenced Jung's thinking, boldly warned, "If you try it, you will be lonely often and sometimes frightened." But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. Nietzsche understood, and Jung agreed, that the deepest personal transformations often arrive cloaked in loneliness and discomfort. Your loneliness, then, isn't random punishment, it's preparation. It's shaping you into the person you were always meant to become. But what exactly awaits on the other side of this painful solitude? What profound rewards emerge when you finally embrace loneliness rather than fleeing from it? As we continue, you'll discover precisely what transformation Jung promised and how to practically turn even your darkest moments into powerful sources of meaning, growth, and renewal. When you finally journey through solitude's darkest moments, something remarkable begins to unfold. You find yourself emerging, not weakened or broken, but profoundly stronger and more authentic than ever before. Jung didn't merely endure his loneliness, he actively transformed it into what he described as the highest and most decisive experience of all, precisely because solitude allowed him to encounter his true self, free from social masks, expectations, and external pressures. Within the silence and depth of solitude, Jung forged what he called an indestructible foundation, a resilient and authentic core from which he could confidently engage with the world. This powerful insight uncovers one of Jung's most intriguing paradoxes. No one is more sensitive to companionship than the lonely man. By embracing solitude, by genuinely knowing who you are when alone, you become uniquely capable of forming deeper and more meaningful connections with others. Far from isolating you permanently, solitude empowers you to relate to people from a place of genuine authenticity rather than fear, insecurity, or dependency. Relationships no longer become desperate searches for approval or validation. Instead, they flourish as sincere exchanges between truly authentic selves. Consider the life of Henry David Thoreau, who deliberately withdrew to the solitude of Walden Pond. Thoreau didn't isolate himself to escape society out of bitterness or disillusionment. Rather, he sought solitude intentionally, knowing that it offered profound clarity about himself, humanity, and the society he temporarily left behind. Thoreau's solitude didn't weaken his ties to the world. Rather, it gave him remarkable clarity about how to engage more meaningfully and authentically with it. His experiences at Walden Pond still deeply inspire people today, proving solitude's astonishing capacity to strengthen not only oneself but also one's ability to form meaningful connections. How then can you practically harness this transformational power of solitude in your own life? The answer lies in deliberately creating space for quiet reflection, disciplined introspection, and meaningful dialogue with your inner world, exactly as Jung himself practiced with his rigorous journaling and creative explorations. These disciplined practices are active, deliberate, and courageous ways to encounter yourself authentically, free from distractions or pretense. And when you do this consistently, solitude stops being something you merely endure. It becomes a cherished practice, a profound space of self-creation and personal growth. Ultimately, solitude ceases to be loneliness altogether. It transforms into something profoundly meaningful, your personal rebirth, the quiet birthplace of your authentic identity. It becomes the place where you finally realize who you truly are, connecting you deeply and authentically to others and the world around you. But practically, how can you begin this powerful transformation in your daily life? In the next chapter, you'll discover exactly how Jung's wisdom can become vividly real in your own routine, helping you harness solitude for extraordinary creativity, clarity, and authentic living. Carl Jung's profound insights on solitude are not merely theoretical. They offer powerful, tangible guidance you can implement practically in your everyday life. By now you understand the immense potential solitude holds. But how exactly do you put this into action? Jung emphasized clearly that the key lies in approaching solitude not passively but intentionally, treating quiet time alone as seriously as you would any crucial meeting or appointment. Regularly schedule and honor dedicated moments of solitude, turning them into deliberate, disciplined rituals rather than accidental occurrences. Jung himself exemplified this meticulous discipline, regularly withdrawing into his private study to journal, meditate, and deeply explore his unconscious thoughts. These disciplined practices weren't idle indulgences, they became the cornerstone of his revolutionary work, captured vividly in his renowned Red Book. This kind of deliberate solitude, Jung argued, is essential for accessing genuine self-awareness, clarity, and insight that daily life's relentless noise often obscures. Yet, Jung openly acknowledged solitude's challenges. Facing silence head-on is rarely comfortable, it often demands courage. Jung famously confessed, "Talking is often a torment for me, and I need many days of silence to recover from the futility of words." But the reward for confronting solitude courageously is enormous. Nietzsche, whose wisdom deeply resonated with Jung, echoed this clearly when he asserted, "No price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself." Silence and solitude to Jung and Nietzsche alike weren't emptiness. They were gateways to genuine self-knowledge, creativity, and profound authenticity. Historical evidence strongly supports this. Sir Isaac Newton developed his groundbreaking theories about gravity while isolated in quiet contemplation during the Great Plague. Beethoven composed his most celebrated masterpieces in periods of profound solitude, cut off from the distracting noise of the world due to his increasing deafness. Even modern visionaries like Steve Jobs, whose innovations transformed technology forever, frequently sought intentional solitude, famously calling it "my greatest source of clarity." But how can you practically apply Jung's wisdom in your life today? First, deliberately create regular solitude rituals, perhaps daily journaling, weekly reflective walks, or regular meditation sessions free from distractions. Next, approach these rituals with disciplined consistency, treating them as sacred appointments that you honor and respect. During these periods, actively engage in reflection. Ask yourself powerful questions about your identity, purpose, and authentic desires, and allow creative ideas space to emerge naturally away from external noise. Practicing solitude intentionally and regularly strengthens your inner foundation, reducing your dependence on external validation. Relationships become less about seeking approval and more about sharing your authentic self, creating meaningful connections built on mutual authenticity rather than insecurity or fear. By applying these practices, solitude ceases to be accidental or painful. It becomes your most powerful tool for authentic living, creativity, and self-understanding. Jung's insights are no longer abstract. They are vividly practical, actionable steps guiding you toward the genuine, meaningful life you've always desired. But before we conclude our journey, there remains one crucial final insight Jung offers, a powerful call to adventure urging you to fully embrace the extraordinary life solitude has quietly prepared for you. Throughout our exploration into Carl Jung's extraordinary insights, we've discovered something remarkable together. Solitude, rather than being something to dread, emerges as your greatest ally on the path to genuine self-discovery and authentic living. Yet, before we conclude, Jung has one final transformative insight to share with you, an insight that might just change how you view your loneliness forever. Jung wrote, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself." Consider this deeply. Your loneliness isn't simply about isolation, it's a profound signal from within, urging you to honor, express, and live according to what genuinely matters to you. Jung believed solitude had an almost mythic quality. It wasn't passive isolation, but an active quest, a heroic adventure inward. In Jung's view, each moment of loneliness was a powerful invitation, challenging you, sometimes painfully, to find the courage to confront your deepest truths, fears, and desires. Friedrich Nietzsche, who significantly influenced Jung's philosophy, boldly articulated this idea when he warned, "If you try it, you will be lonely often, and sometimes frightened." But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. Jung wholeheartedly agreed, insisting that truly owning oneself, knowing and honoring your deepest truths, is not merely meaningful, it's essential to a genuinely fulfilled life. But how exactly do you answer this call? Jung offers clear guidance. Don't flee loneliness, numb it away, or treat it merely as suffering to be endured. Instead, actively embrace your solitude, courageously explore it, and consciously seek the profound self-knowledge hidden within. This courageous engagement with solitude transforms loneliness from suffering into something profoundly meaningful. It shapes you, prepares you, and guides you toward the authentic life you were always meant to live. Think of loneliness now not as abandonment, but as preparation, as an invitation to something extraordinary. Your moments alone are not merely empty gaps in life, they are quietly urging you onward, calling you into the adventure of your true identity. Jung assures you clearly that your greatest discoveries about yourself will always lie hidden beneath the quiet surface of solitude. Your task is simply and courageously to listen. As we conclude, consider carefully Jung's unforgettable words. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This privilege often arrives quietly, disguised as solitude, misunderstood as loneliness, waiting patiently for you to recognize its transformative power. Your solitude is not the end, it's a profound new beginning, a quiet call to adventure, waiting to lead you toward wholeness, authenticity, and deeper connection. So now, the journey is yours. Will you embrace the solitude you've once feared and step courageously toward the extraordinary self-discovery that awaits? Your authentic life, the adventure you've quietly longed for, begins precisely here, in the powerful silence of solitude.